Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar is almost universally remembered as El Cid, the pious Catholic crusader of the Iberian Reconquista. For centuries, this romanticized imagery of a holy warrior fighting for a unified Christian Spain has anchored Spanish national identity and popular history. The historical reality is completely different. Rodrigo Díaz was a pragmatic, stateless military contractor. He was a mercenary. His extensive battlefield victories relied on brutal logistics, shifting allegiances, and psychological manipulation, rather than divine providence or religious zeal. Dissecting the mercenary mechanics behind Rodrigo's career offers a precise, unvarnished look at the realities of 11th century warfare. This map of late 11th century Iberia establishes the geopolitical reality. Christian kingdoms held the north, Muslim territories the center, and the Almoravid Empire advanced from the south. Those central territories were the Taifas, petty, shifting successor states formed after the collapse of the Córdoba Caliphate. In this fractured environment, religious ideology took a backseat to economic extraction. Warfare was driven by the collection of parias, the protection money and tribute paid by weaker states to stronger ones. To secure this capital, Christian and Muslim rulers routinely formed alliances with each other, frequently hiring mercenaries of opposing faiths to enforce their territorial claims. In a landscape of transactional violence, a stateless military commander could amass immense personal power simply by selling his sword to the highest bidder. Around 1081, El Cid experienced a severe political falling out with his monarch, King Alfonso VI, resulting in his total exile from the Christian kingdom of Castile. He immediately pivoted. He traveled to the Muslim Taifa of Zaragoza and offered his military services to its ruler, Emir Al-Mutaman. His primary function in Zaragoza was border defense. He commanded forces to protect the Muslim state against attacks from the Christian kingdom of Aragon, as well as incursions from rival Muslim factions. This warlord's ledger illustrates the diverse composition of his private army during this period. Backed by Zaragoza's wealth, he commanded a multi-faith coalition of Christian heavy cavalry and Andalusian light infantry. Operating with this combined force, he built a reputation as an autonomous military entity who never lost a pitched battle. His tenure in Zaragoza stripped away his remaining feudal obligations. He learned to operate as a completely independent geopolitical actor, fueled by mercenary warfare. Fast forward to 1092. A violent political coup inside the wealthy coastal city of Valencia, backed by the advancing Almoravids, resulted in the execution of the city's ruler, Al-Qadir, a man who happened to be El Cid's paying tributary. El Cid responded decisively. He marched his private army toward Valencia to seize direct administrative control of the lucrative coastal state for himself. What followed was a 20-month siege defined by mathematical precision. He completely surrounded the city, burned all adjacent villages, and systematically confiscated the region's agricultural output. He weaponized starvation, applying logistical pressure against the defending military garrison and the trapped civilian population. To prevent local uprisings behind his own lines, he enacted strict internal security measures, confiscating all iron and weaponry from the Valencian suburbs. He also utilized a severe demographic tactic. He expelled suspected fifth columnists and forced non-combatant women and children out of the city and directly into rival Almoravid camps, a move designed to rapidly drain the enemy's food supplies. The starving city finally capitulated to El Cid's forces in June 1094. The fall of Valencia stands as a masterclass in resource deprivation and cold siege logistics. The victory immediately triggered an existential threat. By September 1094, a massive Almoravid imperial army arrived at the gates of Valencia to retake the city. Looking at this scale comparison chart, the danger is obvious. El Cid was trapped inside the walls with between 4,000 to 8,000 exhausted men. Outside stood an Almoravid force of up to 10,000, which included an elite guard of black slave soldiers. Facing overwhelming numbers, El Cid deployed strategic disinformation. He deliberately spread rumors that King Alfonso VI was marching south with a massive Christian relief army. He then used the calendar against his besiegers. Because it was the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, El Cid kept his troops entirely passive behind Valencia's thick stone walls, refusing to engage. The result was severe degradation for the Almoravid army waiting outside. They suffered from logistical strain, heavy fasting fatigue, sharp internal dissension, and eventually growing desertion. Before a single sword was swung, El Cid had fractured the enemy's morale and unit cohesion through weaponized patience and strategic lies. Looking at this topographical map of 11th century Valencia, we can track the precise movements of October 21, 1094. At dawn, El Cid launched a highly coordinated, dual-pronged asymmetric strike. It began with a feint. A small Christian cavalry force exited the western Snake Gate, initiating a minor skirmish. This triggered a feigned retreat, drawing the bulk of the Almoravid vanguard away from their command camp in aggressive pursuit. Then came the hammer. The night before, El Cid's main heavy cavalry force had secretly exited the southern Botella Gate, making a wide, undetected detour looping around the south, directly behind the enemy lines. El Cid's main force smashed directly into the vulnerable Almoravid rearguard and command camp. The psychological collapse was absolute. Believing that the rumored army of Alfonso VI had finally arrived behind them, the Almoravids panicked and routed in all directions. The Battle of Cuarte proves how intelligence, terrain manipulation, and coordinated misdirection dismantle numerical superiority. In the immediate aftermath of Cuarte, El Cid's forces thoroughly looted the abandoned Almoravid camp. They secured vast wealth, captured vital military equipment, and definitively broke the siege. The geopolitical significance was immense. El Cid achieved what no Christian monarch of the era could manage, inflicting the first major defeat on the Almoravid Empire in Iberia. The ultimate proof of his new status survives in the 1098 endowment document of the Valencia Cathedral. He signed it explicitly as Princeps Rodericus Campidoctor. By officially adopting the title of Princeps, or Sovereign Prince, he formally dropped the facade of being a vassal to any king, ruling Valencia entirely independently until his death in 1099. The historical Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar achieved sovereign power through the calculated application of asymmetric tactics and logistical control. His legacy is defined by his ability to navigate a fractured world through sheer military and administrative competence.